Right. So I think it was in July. God had, I get little pictures in my head, and he said, use a protractor, starting with the end, what's called the center of end times, which was, my slide deck. I think it's like on page 14, but it talks about May 26th of last year being a very important time point for the world. And so it was like in July, and then we headed into August, and I did an interview in August, and I said there's three critically important time points that we're just about to step into. The first time point was August 15th. The second time point was August 24th. And the third time point was September 6th. I said all three of those are really important dates. I don't know what's going to happen because, again, I calculate time. I don't know events, but I calculate time. And what ended up happening was crazy.
And I want to, before you go on, I want to make sure people understand this. Now, Bo talked about those three dates before they happened. So please keep that in mind. I'm going to link to the interview. It's about a 1:09 interview, and the date is in May.
5th.
It's August. Okay.
August 5th was the actual interview I spoke.
This is not even random. This is precise planning by God. So from the day Trump got elected, a half a Daniel cycle takes us oil going to zero. You add 40 days to that, you precisely land on May 26th. You add another 40 days, you got July 4th. So if you scroll up a little higher, you'll see that with that little light blue arrow, that's today, August 5. So I put that in there precisely because each angle represents one day. So we are maybe like 6, 7, 8 days from the Nixon moment. Mm-hmm. That's the first big fat arrow, green arrow.
Right.
Then we get to August 24th, the tipping point. That's that 90. At 91 days, August 25th, that's the tipping point. So anywhere starting as early as the Nixon moment into the tipping point, and as far as no further than that third arrow, which is the new year. So God's new year starts on Rosh Hashanah, September 6th. So the point being is anywhere as early as the first green arrow into the tipping point, into September 6th, expect all of this to come to a head, where something has to blow.
Okay, so, and you're talking about dates, into the future here.
Yeah.
Last year. So you're actually saying, here are the three dates, and they haven't happened yet, because this is August 5th, and all these dates happen after. So I want people to understand this is your time points, and they're so let's pick it up there. And your very first time point that you were predicting, this is going to be a key date. I don't know what's going to happen. Let's start there.
Right. So, 50 years ago, Nixon severs the link between gold and the dollar. That was a historic event because basically you have to understand the means of that, right? Because God gave us money. It says in Haggai 2:8, the silver and the gold are mine, saith the Lord. Well, when you detach, you have a monetary system no longer linked to gold. Basically, the money becomes free-flowing, a satanic money system, because basically there's nothing correlating it to God's money. So it has no relation to God, right? And so what happened on that date? Nixon detached, and this was August 15th of 1971. 50 years later, to the precise day, Greg, okay, I can't make this stuff up. There's a link on my PDF presentation, page 15. You can click the link, but basically that's the exact day that Kabul fell. Precisely, not even off by 1 day or 24 hours. It was the exact day that Kabul fell, that we abandoned all the billions of dollars, over there in Afghanistan, and the people, left the people there, military equipment. You got it. That was a historic day for the United States or for the world, and that basically was the starting point for the next two events that were about to happen, right? So 9 days later, so 1,000 miles away, Saudi Arabia is like, well, wait a second here. We've got a contract with the United States to protect us. Well, wait a second. They just abandoned Kabul. So 9 days later, Saudi Arabia, no one picked this up, but I'm telling you, this was, I just said, this is going to be historic, what this is going to lead to on that specific date. And it was called August 24th. I called it tipping point. Okay. When I say I'm just saying God shows you these time calculations. So again, glory to God. But the point is, this is God's plan.
But
because
what
when the
happened on
dates
that
are
day?
so precise, on that date, Greg, tipping point, Saudi Arabia signs a military contract with Russia, a superpower. But they had one for 50 years with the United States. So my question to you, Greg, let me ask you this question. Why would Saudi Arabia need two military powers of the world to protect them? You only need one superpower, correct? Which means that, in essence, Saudi Arabia walked away from the contract with the United States, period. You don't need, they didn't need two.
And you predicted that just a few weeks before.
I didn't predict the event. I said something huge is going to happen on tipping point August 24th. And no one, and then now what's happening? The media, everybody's talking about the dollar. Everybody's talking about Russia, right?
Saudi Arabia.
All of this started the whole thing started on August 24th, tipping point.
Saudi Arabia is accepting yuan for oil. So,
yeah. This gets better.
Russia is accepting yuan, Chinese currency, for oil and energy.
Yeah, we're going to get into we'll talk about all that because that's all of what's going on.
Now you got one more date.
So the third date was Rosh Hashanah, September 6th. And all I said was September 6th is a calculated date that's supposed to be very historic. And lo and behold, on September 6th, it's called a Lehman Brothers event, but basically it's a $300 billion China Evergrande bonds were halted to prevent liquidation and panic. So that was the Chinese event, which is now going to lead into, you're going to put all these things together as this year proceeds, and you're going to see the financial event of financial events that the world has never seen before. This is going to be truly historic. From a biblical perspective, this is within the Bible what is called the third seal of Revelation, which is a complete flipping of the financial scales. It's like Jesus walking in the temple, flipping the tables on the money changers. This is what's about to happen. It's a black horse event, which basically represents death. Millions of people are going to lose everything. This year it's going to be a truly historic, and I say millions of people, it's particularly people that are involved in this evil system that they've been running across the world. This has been an ongoing thing for thousands of years, and we get to watch, Greg, you and I and your viewers, we get to be on earth and watch God move. This is going to be a moment in time, Greg. I know your viewers don't get this, okay? Or I hope some of them do. But this is going to be a moment in time, Greg, where it's like the parting of the Red Sea. Could you imagine being there and watching God do that, right? Could you imagine when Noah built the ark and the ground broke open, the water shot up, and that point in time? Okay, but those were areas, that was big. But Greg, this is a worldwide phenomenon that's about to happen because in those days there weren't billions of people. So as great as those events were in the Bible, Greg, they're nothing compared to what's about to happen this year. This year is going to trump all of those events. It's going to be bigger than all of those events combined. And the crazy part, Greg, it all starts within the next 60 days.
So what is your lay the roadmap out? I've just had Bill Holter on talking about brilliant stuff. I mean, the mechanics of the ruble and accepting rubles only for natural gas. And if you're a friendly country, they'll accept your currency. So if you're the United States, we're not very friendly to them. They're not going to accept dollars. They're only going to accept rubles. I mean, this has unbelievable reverberations in Holter. He's talking about things bad. It's already falling apart. We have doubled prices of gas. We have a big price increase in grocery stores. I mean, Germany had this week, they doubled their prices on Monday, they raised them 50%. 50%. They're trying to shut off Russian coal. The Russians have shut off pipelines to Europe. I mean, so what's your time frame here? The events that you can report on are awful. What's your time frame?
I want to add to what you just said because you said the word awful. So awful is a relative term because when God shows up, when God moves, Greg, you get two things that happen. You get both sides, so those that planted evil are going to get the most horrendous everything they've done is going to be turned on them. Okay. So everything you're seeing they're doing is going to be turned on them. And the ones that have been like yourself, Greg, you've been, a fighter. You haven't backed down. You've continued to speak the truth. You have not backed down. Your ministry, what you're doing is going to blow up, Greg, to such levels that you've never imagined. So God is about to move, and that what you have sown, you are about to reap. So it's a double-edged sword when God intervenes.
I would hate to be, the folks at the CDC and Andrew Fauci and all these shots. I mean, we got one person after another. Barack Obama tested positive for COVID, two vaxes and a booster. Nancy Pelosi.
So the prophetic word for Fauci, he will be the most hated man on earth this year. Okay, Obama will experience, massive events that will take him down, but he will be saved and pushed aside by the globalists for later days. But there's many others that are going to have horrible years this year. If you like, we should start at the slide deck that we've got and just go through it, Greg, because I think we can kind of really hit a lot of the questions that you and your viewers might have. So if you look at the slide deck on page 2, there is a QR code. Your viewers, all you got to do is, like when you go to the restaurant, you can take your camera out, scroll it over that, and boom, you'll be able to download this entire free, 130 plus page PDF. Boom, it's yours.
Yeah, we're not going to do every page.
Yeah, we're not every page, but the essence that we can kind of at least scroll through a good chunk of it. But basically, we are stepping into what is called the Great Exodus, Greg. So as great as whatever happened with Egypt and Pharaoh, that was an exodus. There's a line in the Bible called Ecclesiastes. This is the essence of my cycle work, where that which has been will be again. So that was the exodus of old. We're about to see not the exodus, but the great exodus. So this is a worldwide event phenomenon that's about to happen. The simple mnemonic on it is the world will rumble. Okay, so the entire world is that the land will rumble. The earth is going to shake. Trust me. No one's going to miss what's about to happen. This is a worldwide phenomenon. Volcanoes are going to blow. Earthquakes are going to shake. Cities are going to shake. This is going to be a worldwide phenomenon. God is about to show up and show off. That's what's coming, Greg. Okay, and I know your viewers. Many are going to say, hard to grasp, hard to believe. But faith is the essence of everything that's so important right now.
Yeah, so Bo, I want to kind of move on, and because I think this is fascinating. It's in your slide presentation. I'm sitting on it, and this is the thing where you talk about the day of vengeance. It's Isaiah 61 verses 1. That's right, verses 1 and 2. Explain how this fits in with what is happening today for all of us.
I think through my presentations that I've done, I've always referenced Isaiah 61 because this truly is, I think, one of the best representations of how this is all about to go down. When Jesus Christ was in the temple, I love these words. They're so powerful. I want to read this to you, and I want to show you where Jesus stopped. But the words are very clear. The Spirit of the Lord is upon me because he has anointed me to bring the good news to the poor. He has sent me to comfort the brokenhearted and to proclaim that the captives will be released and the prisoners will be freed. Jesus Christ stopped there. He didn't read this last line because it wasn't time yet. The time is now. So I'll explain. The last line is very specific. It says, to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor, which we are in right now, and the day of vengeance of our God. So as wild and as crazy, all the events of the world that we're watching today, how it appears that these people are in complete control. Everything they do, nothing can stop them. We know, Greg, that God is a creator of all things. So the best analogy I can give you is these players of the world, they are playing checkers, okay? God is playing chess. They don't even understand who they're up against. And so when you take Isaiah 61, the day of vengeance, Greg, that is all God needs. I want to give you a couple examples. There's stories of Daniel in the Bible, which he was a nobody, and in 24 hours, rather than being killed, right, he was raised up to second in command of all of Babylon. Now understand, Babylon had nothing, these are the enemies of Israel, right? And so he was put in second in command of all of Babylon. The story of Joseph, right? He was in the jail, he was in the pits. In 24 hours, he was raised up to second in command of all of Babylon. And so these are stories of God that all happened, Greg. So when God appears, it's all it takes is one day, sometimes hours. But the events of this world are as wild and as crazy as everything going on. God is just watching these fools and what they're doing. And God has this all planned. He, the prophetic word, to give to the world is fear not, because God the Father is in complete control of all of this, Greg. He's in control of all of this. So Isaiah 61 is so absolutely powerful. If we go on to the next slide, the story of Daniel, which I described, this is so important because Babylon, page 5, if your viewers want to follow along, what is Babylon? It's not really a place, Greg. It's a control mechanism. So the kingdoms that control humanity, that is the best definition of what Babylon is. It ended up being, it was Babylon initially. It was Persia. It was Greece. It was Rome. It was the papacy. It's the United States. And now the United States is controlling people through the financial system. So Babylon is a control mechanism. It's an enslavement because God made us to be free. We were made in God's image. Satan hates that. So he wants to deceive the world that we're less than him, but we are actually above evil, above Satan, because we are made in the image of God. So that statue of Babylon is still standing. It's on page 6, okay? The Babylon statue still stands. Babylon, Babylon the Great. This is some of the most recent revelation that I got. Babylon is nothing but the harlot, as written in Revelation, and it's Revelation 17. Revelation 17 talks about the harlot, but I think page 8 is the most powerful page that I can show you and your viewers, and this is probably the most important information, but what we are about to witness, Greg, is the fall of the harlot. So harlot sitting on the beast and her death in the year 2022. So let me read this. I saw a woman, a harlot, sitting on a scarlet beast that was full of blasphemous names, and it had 7 heads and 10 horns. The heads are mountains. There is a prophet and a handful of people that talk about the 7 hills, the 7 mountains, but basically they are, there's a link there if you want to listen to it. Lance Wallnau does a beautiful job of it. But the 7 hills that she rides upon are the church, the family, the education system, the government, entertainment, and media. Okay, and that's 6. The 7th is a financial system. The financial system is what controls all of those. So those 7 hills are controlled by the harlot. That's why they have complete and utter domination of the world right now. But it's a beautiful story that God laid out. The next page talks about the fall of the harlot. Babylon, Babylon the Great has fallen. So this is what is about to happen. Now I want to show you something here on page 11, how this is going to play out, because this directly relates, Greg, to what you stated earlier. It directly relates to your interview with Holter yesterday, how it's all going to play out. So when you look at page 11, what you're seeing is this is money printing, okay? From going back from 1960, this is from the St. Louis Fed. I didn't make this up. Anybody can go to St. Louis Fed and get this chart. What happened in 2020, Greg? Look, you see that the red arrow, the straight vertical shot?
Yes.
That was the money supply. The first $1 trillion ever created in the United States took 100 years. In the crash of March of 2020, they created 7 or 8 trillion over a weekend to push the market back up.
I know. It's awful. It's
okay?
awful.
So The financial system is how the harlot controls the world. And so the entire financial system is nothing but smoke and mirrors. But this is what I want your viewers to understand about what's coming, okay? On the next page, page 12, these are like 9 examples that I've built. There's a couple links there. People can click on the links there. But basically, this is what happens when hyperinflation hits. God's about to act. We'll talk about it in a few minutes and how this plays out. But this is important because hyperinflation is coming and it starts this year. So what is, by definition, the simple analogy or definition I can give you what hyperinflation is, it's the doubling of prices very quickly. Typically, it's in days or hours. So you've got examples here: France, Greece, Germany, Nicaragua, China, Zimbabwe. But basically, you were seeing things, prices of goods was doubling between 15 hours to 15 days. This is how fast goods were doubling in price because of lack or loss of confidence in that currency. So we are at, if you go to page 13, on page 13, what you've got is a very, very powerful time point of April 24th, 2022. If we go back to page 11, so I want to answer the question how this goes down, but basically if you read, this is Revelation 17:17. For the God has put it into their hearts to carry out his purpose by being of one mind. What God is doing, as much as people may not like or like Russia, like or not like China, understand that these BRICS nations from Brazil, Russia, India, China, okay, these nations are going to come together as one. The BRICS are going to take down Babylon, the financial system. And you're seeing it happen right now, Greg. Because what happened already in March, okay, these are factual events. Putin demands payment for gas or oil in rubles on March 24th. 4 days later, Putin pegs gold to the ruble. Understand how powerful that moment in time is, because that's the first time in 50 years where there was any attachment of any fiat money or any paper money to gold. So Putin, in essence, just started the gold standard, at least out in Europe, okay? And that's coming to the shores here in the United States this year. And 3 days later, on March 31st, Putin starts accepting Bitcoin as payment for oil or gas, okay? So what we're seeing are historic events playing out right now, because this is a war, a financial war that we're seeing play out right in front of our eyes. If you go to page 15, Greg, if you can click on this.
Yes.
So page 15 basically lays out the whole cycle here on how this is playing out. I basically stated, this is, the slide was created back in May of last year when God said each degree is a day. So taking this further, so tipping point was August 24th, the top up there, August 24th. That's when Russia and Saudi Arabia signed a military agreement. If you go straight down 270, guess what day you land on? February 24th. So August 24th, February 24th. Greg, that's the day that the Russia-Ukraine crisis began. The day the Russia-Ukraine crisis began. Greg, you can't make this stuff up, okay? Wow. Then it gets better. So now we go to, March 24th, which I just referenced, right? That's the day. So 30 days later, February 24th, March 24th. March 24th is the day Putin demands payment for gas and oil in rubles, okay? Greg, nothing is a coincidence. God created the end from the beginning, just like he created a statue of Daniel. Okay, that statue goes back 2,500 years. Greg, that prophecy is one of the greatest prophecies ever told. Why? Because it foretold of all the kingdoms that are to exist on this earth. And Greg, every one of them happened. Okay, I'm illustrating through math and cycles how God is the creator of all things. There's nothing random in this world. This is a birth that we're heading into. So I want to talk about birth and how this is playing out. But if we go to slide 16, there's a line that I put in there. It says, all men are powerless if the prophecy is true. Powerless. Just like the story of Daniel, Nebuchadnezzar, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Nothing could ever stop, because God, when he intervenes, these are prophetic things that happen, and it was impossible to stop what is coming. Next, so we got February 24th, March 24th, and then after that is April 24th. Greg, you can't make this stuff up. Calculation from May 26th of 2021 to April 24th. Greg, it's 333 days to the precise day. Does anything happen on that date? I have no idea. But it's just like, the dates I gave you earlier. April 24th is a very powerful time point. It's the Trinity, and on 333 on April 24th. Why is that so important? Greg, that's the last day of Passover. Passover ends on April 23rd, 24th. Greg, this is April 24th is the angel of death time point that showed up to Pharaoh and killed all of Pharaoh's firstborn. You could not deny, and including the animals and the beasts. The point being is you couldn't deny that that was an act of God. I'm telling you, the world is going to see God appear in terms of acts. The earth is going to shake. Incredible things are going to happen this year, this month, as the month is ending. I don't know what events, I don't know what's coming down, but I'm telling you, Passover is a feast date. It's a very powerful time point in our world, and we are in a Jubilee cycle. I want to tell you, and then, people say, why are we in a Jubilee cycle? Well, if you go to page 25, Page 25 talks about abortion. Understand that God is a creator of all things, including life, right?
Yeah.
So 50 years ago, Roe v. Wade is argued before the Supreme Court to destroy God's creation. So what's about to happen is Roe v. Wade gets overturned this year, and that's going to show complete favor, and God's going to show favor upon this, first the United States for doing so, and then the world, okay? But the United States is the control center. We are the military superpower of the world. So the United States will first rise. And all of this is playing out because this is a 50-year Jubilee cycle. December 13th of 1971 was when Roe v. Wade was argued before the Supreme Court. You got August 15, 1971, page 26. That is when the Nixon severs the link. So the point being is that we are at a 50-year Jubilee cycle. What does Leviticus say about Jubilee? On page 24, Greg. And you shall consecrate the 50th year and proclaim liberty throughout the land, and to all, not some, and to all of its inhabitants. Leviticus 25:10. So this is a Jubilee year of historic proportions. And what happens in a Jubilee, like I talked about with the black horse, right? It's a double-edged sword. So those who reaped evil upon the earth are going to see evil come upon them like you've never seen before. If you can go to page 35, Greg.
Yep.
You see those faces?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Treason will be written on them for all eternity. I doubt even one of these people will make it to the end of the year. Because remember, the Red Sea, when it closed, Pharaoh and all of his army was destroyed. Not some, all. So when you read Exodus 14, I will read this to you. For Moses said to the people, fear not. That is a place that we all need to stand right now, Greg. Stand firm like a rock. Don't you budge. You stand on the word. And see the salvation of the Lord, for he will work for you today, for us today. For the present day Egyptians, those are the present day Egyptians, Greg. No different. Who you see today. Soon you shall never see again. The Lord will fight for us. Go ahead, Greg.